Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm struggling to keep up because once again it's been another busy week.
It's been a very busy week.
We need to stop having these breaks between episodes.
We need to just be doing daily
full
uploads.
24/7 on the air.
Well look, if people fucking watch the podcast, we might be in a position to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Bastards.
Selfish. It's just selfish.
If you're out there and you see someone who doesn't listen, you harass the shit out of them.
Just punch them in the face.
I don't normally...
And then throw like a Crossing Swords leaflet at them.
We should get
we need to make Crossing Swords
QR
leaflets
codes.
for that to work.
QR codes and just stick them everywhere.
I looked that up. You have to pay for a QR code. You can't just I mean, maybe there are free services, but I couldn't find one.
Gotta be.
Well, look, it's a job for Jake if there ever was one.
The QR code or the sticker distribution?
Both. You could be out there going around Europe.
I thought that.
Just handing people like Crossing Swords cards.
Because you go in like certain hostels and stuff, and like the lifts are just littered with stickers.
Random
You're like, what's
shit.
one more sticker?
And I just feel like our logo with like the only pod where touching tips isn't frowned upon. You know, I feel like people be like, oh, at least like maybe the gays would see that and be like, oh, it's going straight in my basket. Do you know what I mean? Or in whatever language they speak.
I would love to be a gay icon.
It's going straight in my basket.
I would love to be a gay icon.
Do you know what? So would I. I'd have no issue. Like if our core audience just ended up being
because look, I'm about to stereotype massively both straights and gays.
I feel like we appeal physically to all the gays.
We're perfectly
do you know what
placed.
I mean? Yeah, like you're the more well groomed, you know, smaller guy.
Smaller.
Whereas I'm the bear. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm the otter.
Yes, you're the otter. You're the hairy small one.
The hairy small one.
Yeah.
I'm nimbly.
And for a large man, I'm surprisingly not that hairy.
You're not. We've got like the reverse body types in a way. Yeah. There's a kind of like a
but we're
cross
both
between.
Packing for the gays out there. Do you know what
big
I mean?
time.
Do you know what I mean?
Big time. Again, we've got them covered. You've got the huge schlong, and for those that like something a little more,
you know, when we've been on a
handle.
sandy beach. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Just the drag mark.
Just all the condoms.
Well, that as well. I mean, I don't use them. Do you know what I mean?
I'd just like to make a statement.
What's that?
Just condoms.
Oh, okay.
Just leave them everywhere.
Used or unused?
Well,
because with Jared Leto, apparently used is better.
God. I'm not surprised that Jared Leto's made another appearance.
Well, no, it's just like when we talked about it before, when I did my
you didn't mention
deep dive into
condoms.
Well, no, it was the fact he sent used condoms to his
you're right, because he said they were
members when he was joking.
You did mention them.
And when he was asked about it, he was like, well, at least they were used. What do you mean at least they were used?
Yeah, that would just be rude.
What would you prefer to receive? A used
Is it in the packet or out of the packet?
I presume it's out of the packet.
Well, if it's used,
unfurled.
It's out of the packet. Yeah.
You can't really use a condom, and it depends on how big Jared Leto is. Do you know what I mean?
Well, apparently, if we pay $10,000, we can find out.
Yeah, we can go to Mars Island.
But, right.
Which, by the way, any time a rich, famous man invites you to his island, just say no.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I know times are hard. I know we're living in a cost of living crisis. But it's just not worth it.
It is like a week rent-free, though, isn't it?
Of course, out of the two of us, the one of us that would be
consider
receptive to it would be you. Look, even if it was a female billionaire, I'd be against it. If I'm being honest.
The problem with the patriarchy is there are no female billionaires.
That's not true. Jeff Bezos
the ones who divorce.
The patriarchy strikes again. Yeah, the most successful woman in the world married one of the most successful men in the world and then left him.
And then divorced him and took half his money.
Yeah. To be fair, he was banging other ladies. Do you know what I mean?
Doesn't surprise me.
And she stayed at home raising the kids. She earned that money.
Look.
No.
He didn't.
That's not sarcasm, by the way. It's the same as, do you remember Harrison Ford had a big divorce back in the day?
No.
He was, I don't know who he was married to. I can't remember her name. But
his ex, presumably.
Yeah, but he was cheating on her with... I can't remember her name either. Do you watch Supergirl?
Yeah.
She's the head of the paper in Supergirl.
The new Supergirl. Sorry, Supergirl. You said Supergirl. Yeah. Cat something.
Yeah. Whoever. She was in Ally McBeal. She was in Brothers and Sisters. She's a famous actor, but I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But he was cheating
Sly
on his...
dirty dog. He's an older man.
And to be fair,
still got
they've
it,
now been... They've been together a long time now.
a lot of people still have the hots for Harrison Ford.
I get it. It's the gruff voice, I think, isn't it?
The earring throws me as well.
The what?
The earring.
Oh, does he have an earring?
Yeah.
I've never noticed.
It looks a bit weird. It looks like your primary school teacher
Kim
who's gone for a bit of a break.
No, it's not Kim.
No, it's not Kim Cattrall.
I'm going to have to look this up because it's going to bug me.
Let me go back while you're doing that to my gays and straights thing.
Please do.
Okay. Because I feel like when the straights are a fan...
I'll just tell you what I just did.
Please.
I just opened up IMDb and typed in IMDb.
How high are you? How much have you had today?
I'm not at all. Completely stone sober.
Evidence would suggest.
It's been a busy day.
Look, the straights... When they
Calista Flockhart.
Sure.
You'll know her when I show her to you.
Calista Flockhart. Oh, no, I mean, I know her anyway. I've seen Supergirl.
But yeah, they got together while Harrison was with his wife. But she absolutely took him to the cleaners. And I think as part of the divorce, any money he makes from Indiana Jones, Star Wars, going forward, and that included any new movies,
gets a cut off.
She gets 50% off.
Smart woman. Because good lawyers.
The argument she made was that while he was out building his career, I was at home looking after the family and raising our children.
Correct.
So I think that's absolutely fair.
Correct.
Sorry, gays and
straights, which I realise I say as I fondle this like a weirdly phallic object.
Yeah.
For those on the YouTube.
And now you're touching the bottle.
But straights get weird when they're fans of people. They're creepy.
Yeah.
And they're just weird, man. Do you know what I mean? They'll send them weird things. They'll think they owe them something. They'll be like, oh, can I see your feet or whatever?
They get like Stan in.
They get a bit Stanish.
Yeah.
Right? But
we should be together. Think about it.
The gays just call you mother and appreciate you.
Mother?
Yeah, it's like a thing. It's like
is
a gay
it?
thing.
Look, I'm not massive in the gay community, Jake, so you're going to have to...
Mother is like an icon.
I'm just so straight. Do you know what I mean?
You're hyper straight. You know when people describe
I'm misogynistic.
Hyper straight, that's who you are.
Yeah, but no, look, I would have...
If anything, you're so straight, you're a little bit gay. Do you know what I mean? And that's how you've gone full circle on it.
Like, I don't, as we've discussed before, I don't think there's anything straighter than bumming another man.
What is love but submission between one man and another?
Look, it was fine for the ancient Greeks. Do you know what I mean?
And the Romans.
And the Spartans. They liked a bit of bumming.
It was a big deal back in the day.
It was a way to build a bond. And look, that's how we started the podcast, and I think it's how we'll continue.
How we'll end it.
Look, it's something I had to discuss with your missus when you got together. I'd say to her, look, there's nothing gay about it. I'm not trying to take him from you, but I will bum his head off every now and again.
It's the way the world works.
Yeah.
Men being men.
Yeah.
Rich white men being rich white men.
Yeah.
Well, we're white and we're men.
Speaking of Harrison Ford,
anyway, they're the gays. I think like they just appreciate you. They're like they adore you, but they don't make it weird.
I have seen some gay men be creepy though.
Oh no, look, it happens. Men are men. Because don't get me wrong,
I gotta be honest. There was a night out we went on. I can't remember if you were there. It was like
that Danny bloke.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't gonna name him.
Fuck it, I will.
But
there's loads of gay people.
He was best mates with a girl I was dating at the time.
Bro, there's loads of gay people called Danny. I think we're fine.
Okay, that's fine then.
Imagine if there was only one. Just one gay
just one
Danny.
Gay Danny. Should that be the name of the episode?
One gay Danny.
I think he actually occasionally listens to it though, because there's times when I posted the video on Facebook, he'll like and share.
You're about to alienate him now.
But
don't listen before you say it.
Yeah.
Don't shut off the whole gay community to us.
I'm not. No, look. But it gave me a really good insight looking back, because at the time we found it hilarious, and to be honest, it still is funny. But you got a glimpse into how men can behave, like when it and inappropriately.
Well, men are still men, I think, is the message.
And it was just like he took a liking
and he was
to
young.
One of our straight friends.
He was still young at the time,
and he'd had a few drinks.
He'd had a few drinks.
And he was like, "How straight is your mate?" And I was like, "As far as I'm aware, pretty straight."
Funny, I gave a different answer.
Did you?
Yeah.
That doesn't shock me. If anything, though, I can imagine you encouraged his behaviour.
Not like that. I mean, look, when you put it like that.
But basically, he quite heavily pursued our friend.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah. But no, look, in general, I'm absolutely down with the gays.
Me too.
And I would love to have...
Clip that.
I'd be...
Mama like that. Mama like that.
And I'd happily have a primarily gay audience if that's how the cookie crumbles.
Just clip that and just say, you know, I'm down with the gays or whatever you said. Just clip that bit.
Okay, I'll add that in. It's not a problem. But yeah, speaking of Harrison Ford, and you're going to love this because I know how you feel about these things, they're talking about remaking and rebooting Indiana Jones.
Of course they are.
I'm not even a big fan of the originals, to be honest with you. I think I've watched them all once.
I don't know. You've got to give yourself into it a little bit. They're a bit silly.
Oh, they're massively silly.
Yeah.
And I think then, like, they're sort of their time, aren't they?
Well, I've started saying recently, whenever I say, I'm going to be honest, like, a lot of the things I say to Steph annoy her.
Yeah.
This will come as no shock that this annoys her.
I've been around the pair of you, I'm aware.
But I start whenever I say okie dokie, like she asks me something, and I go okie dokie, Dr. Jones. And then the other day she was like, "The fuck is that?"
She's silly. No, even I've.
And I was like, "It's Temple of Doom." I was like,
"It's that little Asian kid, isn't it?"
It's Ki Kwei Han or whatever his name is. Yeah, it's what he calls. It's short round. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okie Dr. Jones.
I like it.
So I've started saying that. That's neither here nor there, by the way. That's just me telling you all the latest ways. Do you know what? That should be a segment. The latest ways Jake's annoyed his missus.
Look,
Could be a long-running segment.
I love the fact, and I'll say this, I think your missus has had a very positive impact on you in general. I feel like you've opened up a lot more.
I feel like there's a butt coming.
No, genuinely there isn't. I would enjoy hearing the ways in which you annoy her, and I would absolutely love to have her on at some point to tell us firsthand as well.
Made a very...
Although I think, like, do you know what would be a good idea, and we don't have the facility to do it currently, if we had both your missus and
your
my
missus
missus on at the same time, yeah.
That would be a great episode just to...
I think that would be a really good
delve
episode.
deep into what we're
and
like.
And they can just rant about how annoying we are, because absolutely I do Leanne's head in, to be honest. Like, quite often she goes to bed earlier than me, and I'll go get into bed, but I'm not ready to sleep, and I'm hyper, and like I'll annoy her, wake her up, and then I pass out and leave her wide awake.
I could see why that would be annoying.
Yeah, I try to steal her pillows while she's sleeping, and I'm asleep.
I have too much energy as well. So like, even though I'll be really tired, and I mean it when I say I'm tired, I mean it.
Yeah.
But then I'll be bouncing around and just moving and singing and saying things and pondering in general. And she'll be like, "You've got too much energy. Sit the fuck down."
No, see,
especially when she's got no energy.
Yeah.
And I'm just bouncing off the walls, and I'm like, "I'm really tired." And she's like, "You're really fucking not." It's like, no, I am.
So what I've learned to try and do in those situations is I'll either like chill on my phone for a bit, or I put something on the telly and try and leave her alone.
She's a very sensitive sleeper as well, and I pee through the night.
It's exactly the same over here as well.
And just, no matter how sensitive you try and be and quiet.
Well, the problem is in my room, my bed's against the wall, and I sleep against the wall.
So you've got to go over.
So I have to climb over Leanne, which is, I mean, what's happened now is I scoot to the bottom of the bed, I give her like a tap, and she just instinctively knows now, pulls her legs up, and then I slip by as gracefully as a man of my stature can.
But yeah, I think also what happens is I make a lot of jokes.
Yeah.
That she doesn't necessarily find amusing.
The thing is, though, if you're like me, I do that for the reaction.
Oh, 100%. Sometimes the look is the reason you do it.
And now Leanne has learned she just doesn't. This doesn't stop me, though.
No, 100%. 100%.
Is that just what our roles are in a relationship?
I think it is.
Just to be the annoying one?
I think it's what you are is, that's just one of the unfortunate symptoms of being a green flag boyfriend. You're a green flag fiance.
What's a green flag?
You know, like if someone's got loads of red flags, the opposite is that is your green flag.
Is that like that bloke on TikTok that runs around with giant flags and like he reviews people's behaviour?
Yeah, I'm not aware of it, but I'm guessing yes.
Yeah, and like he'll like, if it's bad, he'll be like, "Oh no, don't go there," like running with a red flag, and like if it's good, he's like, "Oh, it's what I fucking love." Yeah,
but you know, you are a green flag. Obviously, relationships have their ups and downs, but when you have issues, you talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, and if you do overreact and you have a moment later down the line, you'll apologise for that moment. You'll make up for that moment. Like, you're a green flag boyfriend, and unfortunately, one of the downsides of that is that you're annoying as shit.
Yeah. Like, one of the things is I sing Christmas songs throughout the year.
this has come up before you've said,
Yeah.
and you'll make them sexual as well.
I do that with all songs. It really upsets, and now I've started doing it to my mum, and it really annoys my mum because she'll be like, "Oh, I really like this song," and it's like it sends off a signal in my brain.
Do you know what I mean, though? You can't help it. Someone says something and it triggers it.
I said to my mum, "It's a blessing and a curse." I was like, "If it's annoying for you, imagine what it's like living in my head."
Yeah.
Do you know?
And I have this thing as well. Whenever someone says something that just, it often puts a lyric in my head, and then I have to sing.
Yeah.
I have to sing that thing.
Do you reckon it's like are we on the spectrum in some capacity?
I mean, look, if we're going to delve into it, unfortunately, the waiting list is like 20 years.
Oh, look,
so
I'm
it's not an issue.
I'm not after a diagnosis. Do you know? And to be fair, I actually do think everyone in their own way is probably on the spectrum. Like we all have.
If everyone
Do you know what I mean?
listening could write in at Swords Crossing on Twitter,
Yep.
go CrossingSwords19@gmail.com. Just let us know whether you think we're on the spectrum, and if the spectrum's like a 1 to 10, where are we? Do you know what I mean?
Give
Put
us
a number on it.
Yeah. Because I am a bit like I'm really big on timing.
If you're watching
Right.
YouTube, just put a number. Yeah, that's the thing. Timing is not my thing.
Yeah, I know. You're the complete opposite.
I mean, you think about it, Jesus. Do you know what I mean?
It's something I've had to have because, like, with my sister, and it's like something me and her talk about quite a lot. She's got kids. She's a busy lady, so like timing goes out of the window for any.
Sure.
So I've had to like stop being a dick about it. You know what I mean? But yeah, and I think it probably comes from like my dad was like that. Do you know what I mean? Like anywhere we went, particularly if we were going on holiday, we were there like at the airport 4 hours before check-in. Do you know what I mean?
That's a dad thing. I don't know. That is just a
I
dad.
would probably still do it now, even though I know it's not necessary.
Yeah, I have with the best will in the world and the best intent. Timing is just not my strong point.
Yeah.
Although I want to point it out
you also
today.
don't like getting places early.
I do not. Not too early because I don't like waiting around, man. I'm not good at waiting.
No.
Like I'm really bad at it.
Yeah.
That's why my last trip it worked really well because I don't like waiting in traffic either. And my driver was like, "Oh, if there's traffic, I just use the hard shoulder. I'm not meant to, but I just fuck up the hard shoulder and then cut back in." So I basically drive it like it's a moped.
Yeah.
But today I want it noted, but I did leave later than intended.
Yeah.
Because Steph decided to start showing me videos.
Right.
And that had nothing to do with me. I was like, for the first time, not for the first time, I'm leaving later than posted.
To be honest,
But it's not me.
If you're a frequent offender in my life, I've learned to, I know it's going to happen.
Thanks,
do you know
boo.
what I mean? And I just, like, yeah, it's cool.
Thanks, I feel bad now. Like, are you guilt shaming?
No.
Are you guilt tripping
No,
me?
not at all. Not at all. I think you have to, if you're going to have relationships with people, if you're going to
There's
love
give and
them
take.
and care about them, you have to accept that I'm not a perfect person. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I am
not
sure
a perfect
there
person.
there's lots of
Many things I wish I didn't do, but I continue learning. You're welcome.
That'll be in the clip. I can't remember what I was going to say now.
You're not
I'm not a
perfect.
perfect person, so I'm sure, I know there will be things that annoy you and the people around me about me. So you learn to accept them.
I don't think there is really.
Fair enough. That's very sweet of you.
I'm pretty chill. What can
Yeah.
I say? I'm a laid back dude.
Yeah.
Unlike everyone else in the world at the moment, who seems to be keen for war.
Yeah. And just getting angry in general. Yeah.
Fucking the poor, fucking the disabled.
Yeah.
Fucking the Middle East.
Yeah.
Fucking Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah.
Fucking Hong Kong.
What's
Taiwan.
That? Oh, yeah.
Most people are just in a bad Pakistan and India.
Yeah. We just don't like one another, it seems like, in the world.
Apparently not. Who'd have thought it?
And I'm like, I don't know, like, I don't understand it.
No, because it's not
Do you
your
know what I mean?
mindset.
No, like, I'm quite easy breezy with these things. Like, yeah, let's all just live together, and like, if we were all one big nation, I'd be cool with it. Do you know what I mean?
Sound you dangerously close to starting a commune there.
No. And I'm not also advocating for someone to, I don't know, conquer the entire world. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't know.
Like a confederation of nations all under one banner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
That's not going to
in
happen.
Star Trek, innit?
Yeah, and look, I am all on board with going boldly where no man has gone before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but let's maybe wait till we've got a few more
But
gay
that's
fans and we
why,
can back
as we
ourselves
stated
up on
last
that.
week, Bonnie Blue's well out of the equation.
Yeah.
Because certainly wouldn't be the first man to go boldly.
You're certainly not Neil Armstrong, are you? No. You're not.
Well, look, I've seen stuff that Neil Armstrong wasn't the first man on the moon. So,
Did you know I've read a story because Stanley Kubrick managed to use...
famous director?
Yeah, like really perfectionist director. Like he'd do 500 takes for a single scene just to get that shot he wanted.
Yeah.
Directed like some fantastic movies, by the way. Clockwork Orange.
Never seen
2001: A Space Odyssey.
it. Never seen it.
Even some of the later stuff, Full Metal Jacket. What's the other one? Vanilla Sky. What it is?
Vanilla Sky, what, the Tom Cruise film?
Yeah,
That was shit, by the way.
that was like one of his last movies.
Was
He
that
also
the one with
obsessed
Cameron Diaz as well?
Yeah,
Where like he's lost his memory.
Yeah.
And I thought that film was dreadful.
And then he's also been like. But anyway, he directed in the 60s. They did a rehearsal of the moon landing.
Okay.
Because obviously the whole thing was a flex against the Soviets.
Yeah.
So they wanted to make sure that the equipment was right, that they would capture everything, the flag going in and stuff. So they ran simulations and they did rehearsals of where to have the camera and how it needed to be. And Kubrick was brought in as, if not the only, but certainly one of the directors to do that.
Yeah.
So later on when he did a film, I can't remember which film it was, but he managed to get his hand on one of the lenses from the Apollo missions.
I want to use it for the film.
And it was just because he'd been a part of that.
That's cool.
What a weird tangent.
Yeah, I mean, we've just done 20 minutes of random shit.
Should we just get into it then?
Should we talk about Glastonbury?
Glasgow.
A lot of stuff happened in it. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, like, less nice stuff about it.
Oh, Jeremy Corbyn.
Did they do that again?
No, but it's Glasgow vibes. It's just what I think of.
Yeah. But two things happened that I was really happy about. One was Lewis Capaldi came back and managed to get through the performance.
That was really sweet.
But one thing I did notice is...
Not the only performing Capaldi.
No, he wasn't. And that would be the second
okay,
thing I was going to mention. You're too quick to the draw, man.
Do you know what? This is
poor Steph.
Right, just to go back, this is absolutely one of the things that pisses Steph off.
Yeah.
We'll be in conversation. She'll be about to say something.
Yeah.
And I'll jump in and say it because I think I'm joining in the conversation.
You're not, you're just interrupting.
I'm just jumping ahead and she finds it really, really annoying.
Yeah.
And I'm working on it.
Yeah.
It's really hardwired.
That's fine, mate. It's all right.
But anyway.
I did notice his voice isn't quite the same as it used to be. And having watched him, I think he's learned coping mechanisms for his Tourette's. And I think that has affected his voice. But I really like the new song Survive. I thought that was really good.
Heard it.
And his performance I thought was quite good.
Yeah, I've seen clips. I've seen it sort of a couple of songs from the performance, but I've not seen the full set.
No, I've not seen the full set. The two songs I did see was Survive and was it Before You Go? And they were both really good.
But yeah, it was really, really sweet. A really full circle moment from 2 years ago.
And there was a couple of bits where he chose to let the audience sing it for him.
Yeah, and kind of the parallels from...
Yeah. And because I can still watch that one.
And tear up a little bit.
Yeah, and get choked
100%.
up by it. Because you can see how much he's struggling in the moment. So it's just nice.
And how much it means to him that the crowd...
Yeah, and they're there for him. Yeah, absolutely. And there's no judgment. No one was annoyed. Like I didn't see.
And that was the year as well, wasn't it? Where Noel Gallagher had said, like, who the fuck's this Lewis Capaldi? And he came out with the I Love Noel Gallagher shirt and the whole video of Noel Gallagher.
That was the year before.
Was that year? Was that the year before?
I think it might have been the year before.
But that was a good. It's just he's always been a laugh.
He's brilliant value in general.
Yeah, absolutely love him.
Like I saw a clip of him phoning Ed Sheeran randomly. And they're just joking around, and he was like, "So what you wearing, Ed?" And they start having like a flirty, what they're wearing conversation. I was like, "Brilliant!"
Big fan of Lewis Capaldi. Big fan.
And I'm a big fan of the other Capaldi that performed at Glastonbury.
Number 12.
Tell the people what happened.
Malcolm Tucker himself.
Yeah.
So Franz Ferdinand, Glaswegian band, singing their famous song that is now 21 years old.
Wow.
Take Me Out.
Yep.
Absolute classic.
Yep.
And they brought out Peter Capaldi, the actor, to sing it with them.
And I actually thought
he was going to play, to be honest.
Play?
Guitar.
Oh, I didn't know he was a guitarist.
So in Doctor Who, he worked it in that his doctor would occasionally play guitar and riff on the guitar.
Okay.
And he's started in the last year or so, he started doing tours with like his own little band where he's been playing sort of more bluesy rock stuff. But yeah, it's been really like.
I thought he was quite good.
He was very good.
I thought his singing voice was actually decent.
He was very good.
But yeah, again, just another nice moment. And what was nice was you didn't see anyone slagging him off like, what the fuck's he doing up there? Everyone was just like,
do you think there's pressure and obviously there's some big talking points we'll get into, but do you think there's pressure at Glastonbury because it's like the flagship not concert, what's it called, festival?
Yeah,
it's like certainly in the UK, I think possibly worldwide it's maybe not the top one, but it's like one of the top ones. It's one of the ones everyone aspires.
Coachella's probably considered the number one.
What
it?
Everyone aspires to be, do Glasto, either attend it or play it. Do you think there's pressure for the acts, certainly that have been before, and certainly that have played the main stage before, to somehow up their game? So, like the Foo Fighters have done it a couple of times, and quite famously, Dave Grohl loved to bring people out, and so particularly when you've got all these other artists backstage. He's a big fan of just bringing someone out and doing
he does
a little
that
set
in
with
general.
And he absolutely does that in general. But do you think, Franz Ferdinand being like, we're going to bring out... That's probably just a fun moment where they've gone, oh, do you know what? We know Peter Capaldi. He's also from the same part of the world. And
I don't know if I'd say there's a pressure. I think it's a potential for an iconic moment. Do you know what I mean? It's like scrapbook
Stormzy
memory.
did a really good iconic set when he headlined as well, actually.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Was that the one where he wore the flak jacket? And I don't know. I wouldn't say they're necessarily under pressure to do it because I think as long as they're performing well, people are just going to enjoy it, aren't they? I just think, I mean, like if I would, the only pressure I would feel if I was playing it would be playing in front of that many people because it's just insane.
Did you see? I think it was McFly at Glastonbury. They played us one of the smaller tents.
Okay.
And one of them. Dougie, the bass player, is it? He was like, one thing we've never had at a McFly gig is like a fucking wall of death. Or he's like, so everyone just get ready.
What, for like mosh pit?
Yeah, he's like, clear the space. He's like, and on 3, we're going to fucking hit it. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. And then they led into All About You. And like the whole crowd were just like, fet.
Yeah.
Like it was quite a sweet, funny moment.
One thing that stopped me wanting to go to like rock shows when I was younger was the fact I didn't want
a mosh pit.
Yeah, I didn't want to get involved with all that.
I did a little bit of mosh pit when I went to Reading.
I just can't imagine you mosh pit.
It was because I saw I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the front. Alex and Ash had fucked off to the pub.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to go to the front. I'm going to get him right. I was like, why the fuck not? Do you know what I mean? I'm here. Live for it. It was to see the actually, funny enough, Glaswegian band, The Snuts.
Okay, never heard of it.
And then this mosh pit started going, and there was this just like dude who must have been about 65, 70 in his little Hawaiian shirt, bopping around in the middle of the I was like, fucking bro, if this man can do it, I can do it.
I feel like that almost ruins the
it.
mosh pit though, because no one can get rough while that guy's in there.
Fucking no, that didn't stop anyone.
Oh really? Fair enough.
Yeah, he was in it.
No, it's just something.
He wasn't dancing around. He wasn't frail.
I just want to enjoy the show. I don't want to get into.
No, you can do that.
Yeah.
There was mosh pits going on when I went to see Sum 41, but I was just there in the crowd.
Oh, they were
not part
good
of it.
To see.
Yeah, and especially like the whole.
That's like teenage vibes. That is.
They were good.
Yeah, I can imagine. Are they good live though? Like,
they were good live. Yeah.
Okay, because like there's some people you can see where you're like, it's a vibe seeing them, but they're actually not that good live.
Yeah, no, they were good live. I'll show you some videos.
Like, I remember when we went as a group of blokes to see Busted. Was it at the O2?
Yeah.
Was it Wembley Arena, maybe?
Oh, it might have been the Wembley Arena.
I fell in love with that older woman who, like, when I asked who her favourite band was, she said Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
And I remember you just, like, putting your hand on my shoulder to be like...
Steady.
Behave yourself.
Behave.
But fucking Wheatus was one of the warm-up acts, wasn't it? And it was like...
Yeah, Teenage Dirtbag Live just fucking rips.
Yeah, and I remember...
And Respect as well.
People looking at a group of blokes in their 20s, which we would have been at the time, like at a Busted show, and I was like, fucking don't judge us.
Still am, excuse me.
Yeah, Busted
20 and a bit. Okay, 21 and a bit.
Although Leanne was disappointed because I've seen them twice now. So once with the lads, once with Leanne, and then they were performing. Was it McBusted at some point? And I was like, I wasn't really into McFly, and I've seen Busted twice, so like I'm not.
Oh, you let the team down.
Yeah, she was disappointed, and I was like, yeah, but do you know what I mean? If it was Busted,
I'm always up for live music.
Yeah,
even if I don't really know.
For me, it's the price. Like when I look at shows,
yeah.
And I'm like, even Foo Fighters. I love Foo Fighters, but I'm not going to pay £150 to see them.
at point of recording, I'm going to a gig tomorrow.
You're going Oasis, aren't you?
No, I didn't get those tickets.
I know, but I wouldn't put it past you to have got a ticket.
No, I'm going to Finsbury Park to see Stereophonics.
Oh, okay, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
With the missus?
The missus and a couple of friends, like her
nice.
side. They're good.
Very nice.
Should be good.
I'm not big into the Stereophonics.
Do you know what is funny though? Is I'm not bothered because the support act is Blossoms, and I saw Blossoms last year.
Yeah.
When we went to see Tom Grennan at Finsbury Park, and they supported then.
Okay.
So I was like, man, I've kind of seen Blossoms now. You know, like,
I'm not that worried.
I'm okay with that. I don't need to get there for the support bit.
How does your missus feel about that?
I haven't told her.
Smart.
No,
Ask for forgiveness, not for permission.
I'm not an idiot.
Yeah, good man. Good man. Right, let's get. We've done enough dancing around the bad stuff, I feel. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, let's get into it.
So the big talking point from Glastonbury was Bob Vylan. And it really confused me because everyone kept saying Bob Vylan and I assumed it was one person, but it's not. It's a punk band.
They're a duo.
Yeah.
And they both perform, like they've got like real names, for want of a better term.
Yeah.
But they both take on the name when they're performing of Bob and Bobby Vylan.
Okay.
So one's Bob Vylan and one's Bobby Vylan.
That's just, it's confusing.
It's just fun. It's just characters. It's just characters. And it's just fun.
But it didn't go well.
No. Well, I think importantly for me, there's a bit of context to this.
Yeah.
So first of all, the BBC made the decision not to live stream Kneecap's performance. Kneecap, we've spoken about in previous episodes a little bit.
I've still not listened to any of their music.
Irish rap group who are
very anti-establishment.
They're very much. They want some Irish. They want Irish unity. They're Irish. They're not British.
Yeah.
Even though I've got a feeling they're from the north, but
I'm not sure.
They're Irish. They're not British, and they're very anti-British. And
I did see them say recently that they don't hate the British; they hate the British government.
And this is the problem. So recently, there's a ongoing investigation into one of them because at a concert about a month ago now, 6 weeks ago now, they said, you should go out and kill your local Tory MP.
Yeah.
Which is a 100% incite to violence. And the same reason we spoke about...
Especially considering
Lucy,
with Joe Cox being murdered.
Yeah, and David Amos.
Yeah.
So particularly with, what's her name? Lucy... Connolly. I would say exactly the same thing about Kneecap as I would say about her. Like, these people do have access to conserved, like, British government officials.
Well, yeah, and they hold surgeries, and
it's a very, very dangerous thing to be encouraging.
They tend to have an office in their local community.
And you're not just saying you hate them, you are directly inviting people to go violent. So I'm 100% against that. And the BBC decided that their video would still be up online afterwards, but they would not live stream it.
Yeah. I don't really understand why you would do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're against what they're going to do, don't put it on at all.
Thank you. I had the same thought. I was like, what's the difference?
People can just watch it.
But equally, this is interesting. So where do you feel? Because again, free speech thing. Where do you feel about it?
What, on Kneecap or
on Kneecap? Firstly,
on the killing the MP. No, it's going too far.
But in terms of pulling the live stream,
yeah, but for me, you negate that by having it available on demand afterwards.
Is that a bit of a cop-out? You're saying we're acting by pulling the live stream, but we're not acting because you can still watch it.
I also do think if you're going to broadcast a musical festival in general where you have zero control over who's going to be on and things like that, especially if you then find out it's going to be people like Kneecap who are famously controversial. I found out since Bob Vylan are very controversial. This isn't like their first time being aggressive on stage. Don't cover it. Let someone else cover it. Do you know what I mean?
The thing with the contract with the BBC at Glasgow is that they have all the stages. They provide the streaming, the licensing, the. Do
they have to do that though?
No, but it's kind of the contract is you take it all. You don't just select the bits you want.
Well, that's what they're doing though. They are selecting,
but they're still putting it up.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? And this will lead potentially into Bob Vylan, I guess, because here's a little insight. I think you probably know this, and I think some of our listeners, a lot of our listeners are very clever. I think they probably know it or they can work it out. But for everyone out there, when, for example, live radio, and there's a number of live radio stations, well, radio stations are sort of live, but live radio, particularly phone-ins,
are they all live?
but particularly phone-in radio,
Yeah.
right? Because of the unknown element, because you've got people ringing in, you don't know what they're going to say,
You
and
have a kill
particularly
switch, don't you?
and because you're generally, most live radio engages in quite controversial topics, so people are very passionate about them.
Yeah.
The live conversation between the radio host and the caller is a few seconds ahead of the live airing. There's a slight delay on it, and the reason there's a slight delay on it is exactly that, so that if they generally swear, or say something they can't,
cover it, or
the producer can quickly. They've got that little period, that little 4 or 5 second period where they can hit a button and make sure that whatever's said between the host and the caller
gets silenced,
doesn't go out on air.
Yeah.
Live TV is very much in the same vein, right? There's a delay, so that if anything untoward happens, or certainly some live TV is, some live TV isn't, but there's the option for that.
Yeah.
So surely the workaround for me is to do that. You broadcast it, there's a delay in it, and when one of them gets up and says, kill your local Tory, or whatever, you hit the kill switch, that bit blocks out, you put the little cue card up on screen that goes, slight technical problem, we'll be back. And then you come back in for the next song. Surely that's the way to do it, and the BBC, I feel, could have done that with Bob Vylan.
Yeah. I think, to be honest, I've gone on a bit of a journey with the Bob Vylan thing, to be honest with you, because at first my gut reaction was I didn't see it as an incitement to violence, if I'm being honest with you.
See, I did.
And the reason I didn't is because with the MP thing with Kneecap, as we've just discussed, that is something that is a realistic outcome. And there was another example as well, but I didn't, when I first saw the clip, I didn't take it as they were actually calling for the death of the IDF. I took it as it was like down with the IDF, and that's not what they said. But that's
that isn't what they said.
I then changed my mind on it a little bit, because what they don't show in the clip is there's a bit beforehand where he does a bit of a speech where he says, like, we believe in violence, and so like the intention is violence. So, but I still don't think it's a realistic outcome that people, after seeing that performance, are going to go, well, fuck, I need to get myself out to Israel and go kill Israeli soldiers.
I think for you and I, this is my counter argument to it. For you and I, and for the 40,000 people that were in that field, I agree. I think the realistic prospects of anyone coming across any member of the IDF is nigh on zero.
Yeah.
But the BBC is a world service.
True.
It's broadcast globally.
Yep.
And the chances that someone internationally will see it, who will come across a member or a future member of the IDF, immediately jumps up from 0 to potentially likely.
Potentially, yeah. No, that's a fair argument. The other thing I would say is, though, it's a bit of a mean question to ask, but like, would people have been annoyed if he'd have said death to Nazis? Or do you know what I mean?
No, and you're right.
And
look,
I would argue what the IDF are doing,
100% agree,
is exactly the same as, like, I would equate them with Nazis.
And there's a very interesting thing as well. There's a fantastic comment in a newspaper. I sent it to you.
Yes, you did.
Are you going to find it?
It won't. Yeah, I'll find it in a minute.
Because I think it's fantastic, because it understandably evoked a large number of responses and backlash, and just about every journalistic, particularly given in the West, how on board, or in this country and America, how on board we seem to be with Israel's genocide anyway. Yeah. Right? It's very... in the same... Well, yeah, I mean, listen.
If the politicians scrambling to condemn a minor pop group at Glastonbury had staged their outrage for a few minutes, they would have seen in the same news broadcast that the bodies of the children being brought out of the rubble in Gaza, killed by the IDF.
Yeah, so basically at the weekend where Glastonbury was happening, there was... there's already been shootings at food collection points, by the way.
Yeah.
Gazans, Palestinians going to collect food and refuge and being shot at. There are 3 2 or 3? But there was 3 in the convoy. But there was so British Army veterans who'd gone out as aid workers, shot and killed.
Yeah.
Aid workers with aid work on the side of the
day of
bag.
Glastonbury, I believe, as
There
well.
was a cafe.
Yeah, the Seaside Cafe.
There was a
people
cafe
were sheltering.
where there was a children's, allegedly, supposedly, it's been confirmed by a number of sources, but obviously a lot of sources aren't allowed in to the country, and I'd like to preface that, even though I've got no reason to believe it wasn't.
Yeah.
There was a children's birthday party taking place.
Yeah. And there was an article that's come out since where IDF soldiers have admitted they've been told to not worry about who they're targeting and they are free to shoot and kill whoever they wish.
We said this about a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Said, how many more times are we going to hear the IDF and the Israeli governmental officials turning around and saying it was a secret Hamas hideout? That hospital was a Hamas hideout.
Yeah.
That cafe where they were having a kid's birthday party was a fucking
Every time
Hamas
they
hideout.
kill innocents, they go, "Oh
That
yeah, but
school
we
was
did
Hamas.
also get.
Come on,
we
man.
got some terrorist members as well.
Come on, man. You got potential terrorist members because all the kids might have grown up to hate you because you've killed all their families."
Shall I read out Bob Vylan's statement?
Yes.
They've released a statement since.
Can I just say, I think I said to you, every fucker on the planet and his dog have released a statement on Bob Vylan. Everyone was jumping on
We're doing it right now, basically. Well, not a statement,
No,
but
not
we're
a
discussing
statement.
it. So the statement is titled, "Not the First, Not the Last." Today, a good many people would have you believe a punk band is the #1 threat to world peace. Last week, it was the Palestine Pressure Group. The week before that, it was another band. We are not for the death of Jews, Arabs, or any other race or group of people. We are for the dismantling of a violent military machine, a machine whose own soldiers were told to use unnecessary lethal force against innocent civilians waiting for aid. A machine that has destroyed much of Gaza. We, like those in the spotlight before us, are not the story. We are the distraction from the story, and whatever sanctions we receive will be a distraction. The government doesn't want us to ask why they remain silent in the face of an atrocity, to ask why they aren't doing more to stop the killing, to feed the starving. The more time they talk about Bob Vylan, the less time they spend answering for their criminal inaction. We are targeted for speaking up. We are not the first. We will not be the last. And if you care for the sanctity of human life and freedom of speech, we urge you to speak up to Free Palestine.
And quite appropriate, if you're on YouTube, we've got the message here, Free Palestine.
Indeed.
I think, as well, one of the things with this Bob Vylan, and I think they're right in terms of, I don't agree with what they've said because they've actually called for the death. Like you said, if they'd called for the downfall or the dismantling, as
if
they
even had to chant this end the IDF or something like
that's
you know
different.
I mean?
But again, and it's the same with Lucy Connolly. If she'd have said...
Yeah, that was the other example I was going to use earlier, is with Lucy Connolly. The riots were happening and there was violence on the street, and she then tweeted, "Go burn the hotels down," which then they tried to do. So there was a direct correlation. So that was one of the other examples.
Yeah, but if she'd have, as we discussed a few episodes back, if she'd have taken out the
burn the hotels
despite
bit.
all the racism and the hate that was in that message, it's legally fine.
Yeah.
Right? With Bob, but if they'd have said end or dismantle. But I will say this, I am fed up of hearing that, their call there for deaths to the IDF, for example, is being labelled as anti-Semitic.
I was about
no,
to
it's
ask
not,
you
is
that.
it?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I want to see the downfall of the current Israeli government, the current Israeli regime.
Yeah.
And I think the IDF does need a shake-up. I think it does need a... That's not anti-Semitic. It's not like... It's not because they're Jewish or because they're a Jewish state or they represent a Jewish state.
If our government was doing this, I would feel exactly the same way as I do about the IDF. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it does really concern me. And like...
It would be like when Hitler was... Just because it's the obvious example. When Hitler was ripping through Europe and packing as many Jews and gypsies on a train as he could and taking them off to death camps, it would have been like if you go, fucking hell, we've got, down with Hitler, bring him down, and you go, well, it's a bit xenophobic, that. So, it's like, weirdly, that's not the reason I'm condemning.
No, I'm condemning their actions rather than who they are as a race, or I couldn't give a shit that they're Israeli or that they're Jewish.
But every
or
time,
anything like that.
every time there's certain corners of the media that every time you come out in defence of, no, it's not even in defence of Palestine, but every time you come out and attack the Israeli government, you're labelled anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
And I'm fed up of it.
Every time you talk about it,
As you can tell from my tone.
You have to preface it with, "Oh, and I was appalled by what happened on October the 7th." Of course, we all were.
But that's something else, right? So can I ask you this? Because I saw a post on social media that saw a group of Palestinian flags in the crowd at Glastonbury.
Yeah.
And they were like, the irony that the middle class privilege or whatever they called it, that all these white middle class Brits are celebrating this state when 2 years ago it was at a festival. And again, I just want to say that you got right where maybe these people are just incapable of separating the state from the groups.
Yeah,
you know, from the military groups or the bad guys or the government, because it's like, we are not our government. Palestine and Hamas are two separate entities.
Yeah.
And Israel and the Israeli government are two separate entities.
Totally. Although I have to say, I have seen a lot more content recently of Jewish people being in support of what's going on in Palestine. Now, obviously not all Jewish or Israeli people feel that way, but a concerning amount do, to be honest with you. Now, that could be down to brainwashing, it could be down to propaganda, all sorts of things, stirring up racial hatred, all that sort of stuff. And I have also seen a lot on the news and throughout media, this platforming of Jewish people to go on and turn this into, we don't feel safe in Britain. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I could be wrong, but I've heard nothing about an uptick in aggression towards Jewish people. Like, I think for the most part, people are aware of the fact that if there's Jews in this country, it's got nothing to do with them, what's going on over there.
I'm not Jewish, so I'm not on the front line of this.
Yeah.
However, it feels like the only upturn in anti-Semitism in this country are the claims of anti-Semitism from
rather than it
supporters of Netanyahu and the IDF.
There may genuinely be some Jewish people out there that don't feel safe, and if that is because they've received threats or anything like that, then I apologise, fair enough. But by and large, I've not seen anything of the like. Do you know what I mean?
Everyone I know that is on Palestine's side, for want of a better term.
Yeah.
And
on the people's side, do you know what I mean?
They don't blame Jewish people. They don't even blame Israel. They blame the government.
Yeah.
They blame Netanyahu.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, anyway, let me ask you this question.
Please do.
Lucy Connolly, and we sat here and we agreed a few weeks ago that a prison sentence was a fair result or a fair punishment for Lucy Connolly. By the same measurements, should Bob Vylan face prison time, or at least the member of Bob Vylan who chanted death to the IDF? And if so, if not, what's the difference?
As I said, I'm very conflicted on this. I don't have, quite often on the podcast, I feel like I go quite hard and fast with my opinions on things. On this one, I find it really difficult because genuinely...
I'm giving this such brevity, by the way. I didn't even comment on the hard and fast. I let it go.
Well done. That's growth right there.
Make me talk.
Speaking of growth,
please.
My gut says no, if I'm being honest. And for the reasons I said at the beginning, in terms of the kneecap one, I think is more actionable because it's something that has happened in this country, and we know that in general MPs don't feel safe. Lucy Connolly's case, as I said, she did it at a time when riots were happening and there was violence on the streets. So there's a direct link between what she said and what ended up happening. If what he's done, if we suddenly have an uptick in violence towards Jews or towards people in the IDF or whatever in that regard, I'd maybe feel differently about it. But I don't know, my gut.
So, and look, please don't think
counter-argue, by the way.
Please don't think
I'm not.
Please don't think I'm attacking you here. I just want to preface this. Yeah. I'm just counter-arguing and suggesting some other sides. Are you going to use my logic against me? A little bit.
Please do.
So, you're saying that a call for violence is only damaging if it's acted upon. But if you actively call for violence and no one does anything, then it's not actionable. I know that's not what you're saying, by the way, but that is how it could be interpreted.
I understand how that's coming across.
It's hard to articulate. I appreciate that.
It's a bit like we've talked about other things in the past. Like some things just don't feel right, and like it could just be like a bias in me that because I'm a lefty and I feel the way I do about the Palestine situation, that someone calling for the death of people that are wantonly murdering innocent people, I'm more comfortable with than Lucy Connolly calling for people to burn down the shelter that desperate innocent people are hiding in, or not hiding in, living in. I do feel differently about those two things. And it shows the complexity of the discussion around free speech, because no two situations are the same, but we also need our laws to be able to cut through that and make that decision for us as a society, I guess. But if they were convicted, I don't think I'd be like... I think I'd be a little bit uncomfortable with it, but I wouldn't be like outraged by it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, let me put it this way.
What about you?
There's another counter argument, just quickly. Lucy Connolly just put it out into the ether. She just kind of typed it and sent it out. Whereas these guys were actively speaking to a crowd of several thousand people in front of them, and knowing that there were cameras at home and live feeds into people's homes all around the world. You know, is it not?
No, they're perfectly valid arguments. Like I said, I haven't got a firm position on this. Do you know?
Look, I'm
every time because I've listened to different arguments on it, and every time I've watched a different argument, it's made me go, I
know what I'm going to say. This, like, with you, I agree with you in terms of like gut instinct and the way my gut's leading me. However, I've got to be consistent. I've
had those thoughts as well.
Therefore, I would say I completely agree with their sentiment, ideology, I guess, behind the dismantling of the IDF. But because they didn't call for the dismantling,
they called for the death.
And they called for the death. But
that's when I'll throw back in the light. If they were saying death to the Nazis, we wouldn't care. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
And these people are essentially the Nazis. So that's it. Do you see what I mean? Like, that's why I can't firmly go, this is...
For that reason, I've got to put them in the same category as the bloke from Kneecap.
You would convict them?
And not them, him. Just the one who called it. Just the Bobby Vylan, or whichever one called it.
Yeah.
And the same category as Lucy Connolly. If you just change it so slightly, a little different with the Kneecap thing, because it's quite a direct call.
Yeah.
If you just change it slightly, because like you said, in their statement, they're talking about the dismantling and the downfall. If you replace the word death...
And look, I know I can...
Then it changes the whole thing.
Intellectually, I know why he did that chant, because it rhymes more, doesn't it? Death, IDF, it works. Whereas if you'd have said down with the IDF, it doesn't have the same ring.
It doesn't hit the same as if you go, death to the IDF in an ideological sense, because in a very real physical sense, we should not be killing anyone. It doesn't have the same hit.
Because like they could, and may do, if it goes to court, argue that it was a metaphorical... Do you know what I mean? Like, a metaphorical death. We're not calling for them to actually be dead, but for I don't know if you can say she metaphorically wanted them to burn down.
I think you could argue it.
I guess so.
I think for me, they've all got to go in the same, because if Lucy Connolly, as much as I don't
vehemently disagree. I don't even massively. I'm not against.
It's
what you're saying.
It's a good example, because ideologically, I'm very much opposed to Lucy Connolly's views, and I'm very much behind Bob Vylan's views. However,
in a fair society, you have to be consistent.
If you take out in Lucy Connolly's, as much as I disagree with the rest of it, and as much as I think it's sickening that people can express those views,
but no, we've said we
take that out in a free speech world. That's fine.
Yeah.
And with Bob Vylan, if you take out the death bit and you replace it with anything less violent,
he's fine.
It's absolutely fine.
No, like I said, because I had the thought. Because when we texted briefly about it the other day, I sat down and thought about, like, we talked quite heavily about Lucy Connolly and that, inciting, and I've had all that, it's not something.
And with Kneecap, if they'd have said
flippant about, or like genuinely,
no,
it's a hard question to answer, and I until the moment you asked me, I didn't know what my answer would be.
And look, with Kneecap, if they'd have turned around and said, write to your MP and tell him you think they're a cunt.
Yeah.
Right, fine.
And I actually would argue
Fine.
they have probably, because of the reaction of the media, and like the really upsetting thing is that I saw a thing about there's been more reaction from politicians and leaders of state over what a fucking singer has said on a stage
Than the deaths of children.
the actual atrocities
Than the
taking
genocide. Ethnic
place.
cleansing.
And that in its own speaks volumes about what's going on in the world. But you could argue they have set back the cause of getting support for the Palestinians by doing what they did.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because of the reaction.
I would say for me, the biggest takeaway from this is far and away not the story itself. It's the fact that had, and you're going to have to go to YouTube to get the full weight of this, that had this much impact in the media cycle. Whereas literally below it,
this much for
a story of children being killed in a cafe had this much media cycle coverage.
Yeah.
And it's like that. And part of that might be fatigue.
Yeah.
Because we've heard it day in, day out for the last 2 years. We've heard about the atrocities committed by the IDF against the innocent
thing is, I think
people of Gaza.
And
the West Bank,
people will look back in history, I hope, and look at this time and judge the leaders of our time incredibly harshly
big time.
For the way they've handled this. And like, it's probably one of my biggest criticisms of Kier Starmer, if not the biggest, is his handling of this and how he's been in general around it. Like, he would claim it's a slip up, but you cannot go on radio, I think it was at the time, and say that the IDF had the right to do collective punishment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And he will be remembered for that.
I hope so. But then again,
in history.
You know, Neville Chamberlain, the pre-war, into the war, start of the war Prime Minister, do you think he'll be remembered? One of the biggest, like, what the fuck moments for me when I was learning about it all was the Munich Agreement, 1938
and
Munich
he warned
Agreement.
everyone, didn't he?
Well, when we...
Or the Treaty of Versailles, the one I remember learning about.
But in the 1938 Munich Agreement, for those who don't know, Germany was... They'd renamed themselves Germany, so they were the Weimar Republic from the end of the First World War through to Hitler's time, because they wanted to take away all that empirical stuff and the Germanic stuff. So he was like, no, we're the great German Empire. So they were expanding.
Yeah.
And so desperate to avoid war, Britain, France, I've got a feeling Russia were present, but I can't for 100% say for sure, because it's been a while since I learned about it. Britain, France and Germany got together and they agreed to give up parts of Czechoslovakia to the Germans. Do you know who wasn't present at those chats?
The
Czechoslovakians.
Of course they weren't.
And
just like Ukraine weren't at the meeting between Trump and Putin.
That should be remembered.
Yeah.
More than it is, in my opinion.
Well, it's the same. Like I'm saying, I think Kier Starmer will be remembered for this.
But he won't.
No. And like, if you look at Winston Churchill, his history was completely whitewashed, like killing that many Indians and things like that.
Yeah, well, we've said we should be taught the truth, the whole truth.
Yeah.
And you've
and always, nothing but the truth.
You've always quoted it as the complexity of a character like that.
Yeah, because I think... Yeah,
the bad stuff doesn't negate the bad, but the good stuff doesn't negate the...
Yeah,
sorry,
like,
the bad stuff doesn't negate the good.
At the time, it took a scumbag to defeat a scumbag. Do you know what I mean?
Always does.
So, yeah.
It always does.
There you go.
Look, it's a complex issue.
Yeah.
But I think I would, for me, I've got to be consistent on it. If I'm saying the same thing about Lucy Connolly, that if you just took out the threat of violence, everything else in there is questionable. It is legally fine. The same with Bob Vylan. Like if you just take out the death, everything else in there is
like I said, I can't really
morally ambiguous, maybe, but you know,
no, it's a perfectly reasonable argument. And like I said, I think it just shows the complexity of free speech issues.
Do you think something like that overshadows the festival as a whole, or do you think it can be taken as a separate issue?
I think it has. I mean, to be fair, I was a bit disappointed with the lineup of Glastonbury this year. Like, usually you get a Foo Fighters or a...
Foo Fighters?
Other people might disagree with me. They might have loved it.
I thought it was... Yeah, I quite like it.
Because you know me, my music, although it's broad, I have very specific people.
The headline acts, I was like, you know, because like the 1975 I'm not a massive fan of.
I think
Matt Healy is so pretentious. I think if you took out his pretension, they'd be fine.
Isn't he the guy that was with Taylor Swift for 2 weeks and then
Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then Olivia Rodrigo, do I think she's headlined yet at Glastonbury? No, particularly for the whole event doing the Sunday.
I feel like if you're going to be a headliner at a festival, you need to have a proper back catalogue so that you have a really good like option pool of what you can play.
Yeah.
So there's something for everyone sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the mums and the dads in the crowds know it as well.
Yeah.
That kind of hit.
And I don't know, I feel like you need, I mean, the one that would have been great just before their reunion tour, although it would have devalued the reunion tour, would have been Oasis, yeah. But I think that would have really pissed off the people going to the first show. And yeah, it would have devalued them. But like, yeah, there should have been.
But sorry, just to end the Bob Vylan chat is that I think the thing that's bothered me the most, is the fact, and I've just said it, but the fact that got so much coverage. Meanwhile, the death and it's just like, come on, man, we've got to get our priorities straight. I'm not saying let's not discuss that because it's an active call for violence, and it merits it. Whether you agree or disagree, it merits its stage on the national.
And the other
circuit,
thing that concerns me about what they did, and
national
I'm
discussion.
unhappy about, is I feel like it helps reinforce what feels like an authoritarian sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like desire from Kier Starmer's government to
control the narrative,
protest and things like that. Like with the Palestine Action Group, like we have to be really careful because they've just been prescribed.
So we're
very limited to what we can actually say about
deliberately
them.
not touching on it because I just think it's best to wait a little while before we do reflect upon it.
Yeah, it's concerning, is what I would say, and I think this doesn't help that. And I think like they may have had the best intentions in the world, but I think it was misguided and could have been, as you said, done differently.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Bob Vylan chat over and
that's
done with.
Glasto.
I gotta be honest, I was quite nervous to have that conversation, but as you said to me in the text, we are quite closely aligned on it, and I think because I tried to genuinely, because I couldn't nail down my opinion on it, I was like, I'm just going to approach the conversation openly and not.
I think the topic of free speech is probably one of the areas where we do disagree, because I think where we draw the line on how to deal, not when there's been when there's been a breach of, when there's, we say freedom from speech is not freedom from consequence. Yeah. How we draw the line and where we draw the line when someone's broached that confidence. The thing is, I know you're saying like we disagree on that, but I think you'd find that with anyone. Like I think if you spoke to anyone you have in your life, you will probably have, even if it's a small difference, but there will be differences on where your line is. We've been accused plenty of times of just hammering the same point from either side of the table. Yeah. But it's one of the areas where we actually do come at it from slightly different. Yeah. And I think we've had a very good conversation about it. Yeah. Not been full of humour. And like I've been honest about where my biases are on it, and like there is a part of me that just wants to go fuck. I'm a lefty, fuck it, I'm behind them, but it's difficult. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. I do know what you mean. I feel you. Let's move on from Glastonbury. Yesterday... Hang on, let me get in my mindset. We're on the train back. We're fucking hanging. Do you know what I mean? Trains. Do you know what I mean? Or dangerous. Yeah. It's dangerous. I don't trust trains. There's a lot of people that don't. No, actually, I really enjoy a train journey. Don't mind a train. Like me and Leanne have talked about doing there's like a Polar Express like experience you can do where you get to go on the Polar Express around Christmas and you get the belt. Have you ever seen the film? Yeah, with the weird creepy dead eyes. No, what are you talking about? It's an excellent. I still think them kids are dead inside. Like you cannot convince me anything else. It's a fantastic movie, and Tom Hanks is always. It's a fine movie. Like I don't want to get. Do you know what it is? That's the area we differ in our opinions on movies and TV shows, but particularly movies. Yeah. Do you know what it is? I can tell you exactly what it is. Why I love that film so much is because I don't know how much you were into Christmas when you were younger. Like a lot. Very. I used to really get that feeling in your stomach about Christmas, and something that breaks my heart to this day is I don't really get that anymore. Last Christmas I got it a tiny bit because I got excited about Christmas and I had a little bit of time off at Christmas, so I was able to be like, fuck, this is going to be awesome. But watching that film, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, there's a scene where one of Santa's bells comes off of the sleigh and he picks it up and he can't hear it, because he doesn't believe in Santa Claus. And like the nostalgia of that, and then eventually he can hear it, and it's a whole thing. And it's the arc. And like I remember the first time I watched that, I got
the feeling watching it. So like it's just nostalgia and like the first Santa Claus movie I think is goated. A lot of people might think that's a shit film.
That's my go-to Christmas film.
Is it? Oh my G.
Tim Allen.
Mate, he's Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Tim Allen is Santa Claus and I won't hear it. I still haven't seen the TV series because I'm scared shitless it's going to ruin it for me. All three films have like there's different things.
No, but the first one is goated. Agreed.
Yeah. But I like all the three films, if I'm being honest. But the first
one's the magic one.
Yeah, and I think again it's a nostalgia thing. Like back in the day when we used to have tape recorders and things. That was my copy of Santa Claus was on a illegally recorded.
Yeah, we only ever had it on VHS. When we no longer had a VHS, I was like, how the fuck? And it came on like ITV or something. I was like, record.
And my dad, and I had a Disney Channel copy. Like it had the Disney logo on it. And my dad always used to work Christmas Eve. And while he was at work, it was my thing every year. I had to go try and find it because it didn't have Santa Claus written on it. So then I'd have it ready. And the
mum, dad wedding.
Poor fucker every Christmas Eve, no matter what time he got in, I made him sit and watch it.
No, I love it. I love that film.
Yeah, so just.
But the Polar Express, man, they're fucking dead inside.
I just love it.
Look at them.
No, I just disagree. I think they're great. Like, yeah, maybe I was going to say earlier, like the CGI holds up. Some of it does. I think the characters not so much. But yeah, I wouldn't say they're dead in the eyes.
They are absolutely dead in the eyes.
Well, look, that's just something else.
Anyway, what are we talking about? Trains? No, we're coming back from Glasgow. Sorry.
Yeah, so we're hungover.
We're hanging.
Down.
We've left the tent, even though we shouldn't have.
I've done more DMT than any human should do.
Agreed. I've snorted a line of powder because I thought it was, I was missold. Yeah. Just washing powder.
Missold PPI.
I was missold PPI. That's how drunk I got. I was phoning them up.
Martin,
where's my PPI?
Where's Martin Lewis when you fucking
Where's
need
my
him?
fucking PPI?
So yeah, but
I was in an accident. It wasn't my fault. Sorry.
Someone else who doesn't want it to seem like it's their fault. Come on.
Here we go. Here we go. Hang on. I was momentarily.
Rachel Reeves.
Yes.
So she was crying yesterday in the Commons. And there's all sorts of mixed reports. They've said it was a personal issue. Her team have also leaked that apparently she had a very heated conversation with Lindsay Hoyle before entering the Commons. Other people have said it's because she thought she was going to get sacked by Kier Starmer.
And he took a while to come out and back her, by the way.
Yeah, and I have a bit of a theory on all
the first report I heard said Kier Starmer has refused to say whether he'll back her. Yeah. And then by the end of the day, it was like, no, she's got my full backing. And this morning, at time of recording, they've been seen hugging. It's a little bit like football, though. It's like, I'm not worried about a manager's position until the chairman comes out and backs
says
him.
They're safe, yeah.
As soon as the chairman says it, the manager's got my backing, I'm like, sacked.
And also, despite the fact they've been seen together and Kier Starmer said she's not going anywhere and they've been hugging and all of that, I still would not put it past Kier Starmer that in the next week she's out the door.
Do you think, and I will get into it a little bit, but do you think she's going to end up being the fall guy for the Rebels and the welfare bill? Because there's been a lot of rebellion in the Tory party, in the Labour Party. Well, I mean, they're basically Tories, but in the Labour Party over the welfare bill. Do you think it's going to be an easy way for Kier Starmer to go, what is the fucking Chancellor's idea?
I don't think he can now. I don't think he can. After because the story has become Rachel Reeves was crying in the Commons. We're now no longer talking about what happened with the welfare bill, which is humiliating for Kier Starmer, because they started off going, right, we need to cut $5 billion from the welfare budget. We're going after disabled people. And then 126 MPs in his own party went, no, you're not. And then he backed down. So they then said, okay, fine, we're not going to take it away from current disabled people, but from next year, anyone applying for these benefits won't be getting this section of the payment. So we're going to save maybe, I think they said something, it was like about $1 billion they were going to save at that point.
I was going to say the last time there was major welfare reforms, the aim was $5 billion.
Yeah.
And someone did, well, like, the ONS or whoever did like their calculations, and they calculated that they'd actually saved about 0.7 billion. And it was like, that's not even close to the cuttings you wanted. I actually saw
something mental as well.
Because most people are, we've discussed it before, because most people are genuine. And Pip is hard enough to get on anyway.
Well, Mr. James O'Brien actually quite nicely did a thing, because he's gone a bit lefty again, which is nice, until this morning when he was talking about, like, we should all feel sorry for Rachel Reeves, which just pissed me off. And I'll get onto that in a minute.
Sure.
But talking about disabled people on benefits, he gave some stats out. 1 in 10 working age adults currently claim incapacity or disability benefits. Apparently 44% of the claims are to do with some form of mental health issue. Almost zero loss in regards to fraud.
Can I just say, by the way, that's the key one.
Yeah.
But can I say this as well? I think there's also a danger, particularly when journalists get hold of these stats, and particularly those on the right that want to push this, oh, everyone's a bit depressed, everyone's a bit whatever. But I think it's a danger of the COVID thing, when deaths were being announced as COVID deaths, and it was like, actually, the woman was like 95.
Mental health issues.
Well, not just that, but I think mental health issues, the claim there, 44% are related to mental health issues. I think people with other physical issues might also have, and therefore on the claim, one of the reasons is that, even though it might not be
so they get put
the only reason,
well.
So then
they might also have no legs, or, do you know?
So then they're chucked under that stat as well, and then the journalists get hold of it and they go 44%, and we're all a bit depressed. I mean, fucking hell, have a smile and pull your bootstraps up.
I mean, if I lost both my legs, I'd be quite depressed.
Difficult to pull your bootstraps up as well. Sorry. 0%, basically nothing to fraud.
PIP fraud was literally 0%.
Because PIP, by the way, and I know people on PIP, it's
really
difficult to get onto.
It's humiliating.
It's really difficult. They reject, just on Notion, they reject the first 2 times if you apply and then challenge it, their standard bottom line is, whether it's official or not, they reject it. They make you work for it and they humiliate you to do it. 100%.
Disability allowance, 0.1% fraud.
Yeah.
PIP overpayments is 0.4%, and that is down massively in the last year. So they've actually managed to reduce, and that's not even fraud, that's just them fucking up, by the way. And so the question is, like, where's the sick note culture that we're told about?
Yeah, where did these journalists manage to get enough information to whip up this hysteria?
This leads me into nicely what I want to say about Rachel Reeves, and I want to start it by prefacing, I know what it's like to struggle in your job and to really suffer from depression while that's going on. And I don't know if I've actually ever told you this, and I've certainly never said it on the pod, but we've said, it's important men talk about these things. There was a period while I was working after I lost my dad where I would go into work, I would stomach working for as long as I possibly could, either go into a bathroom or an office, sob for 5 to 10 minutes, clean myself up, and then go back to work for a bit, and I would repeat that process as many times as it took to get through the shift. So I do have empathy for someone that's genuinely struggling. That being said, I struggle to have sympathy for someone that, after hearing those stats, and she'll know those stats, by the way, so she knows there isn't an issue with our welfare system, she was willing to fuck over genuinely disabled and struggling people and didn't have any remorse about it whatsoever.
The framing of it is always, we hear it all, fraud, people who are on benefits who shouldn't be on benefits, right?
Yeah.
The stats have just shown that that's not really the case. And I think anyone with, to quote James O'Brien, that's just counting, as he always says. If you've got your eyes, and
that's
you're
not
able
opinions,
to look,
it's facts.
It's just counting. If you open your eyes, you can see that that's not really an issue, people being on. There are people, for sure, but most of the stories are either blown out of proportion or just don't exist, by the way. So many of these get made up.
Yeah.
And it's like, look at all these people who are doing it, and you're like, who? Find one. And they go,
also,
well,
to be honest with you, even if you happen to know someone who you think isn't necessarily in deserving of these benefits, one, you don't know, but two, even if they have some way skewed the system and got away with it, the steps and lengths they would have had to have gone to for what, frankly, is barely enough to live on.
It's not
even if it is
on.
enough to live on. Just fuck off. Do you know what I mean? I'd far rather we had a few people like that, as we've said before, than take away from
but the
people
framing
that genuinely
of it,
need it.
The framing of it is always that for all people who are on it who shouldn't be on it. What she's basically saying, and not just her, like Kier Starmer, the whole government and the cabinet are saying is, okay, we're looking at the stats. There's not actually much fraud going on. There's not actually many false claims, but we actually think that these people don't deserve it.
Yeah. Well, the way they framed it is, we believe we could help these people get back into work. this classification of people within this benefit system.
As someone who's currently been looking at jobs and stuff, it's not that easy.
No, it's not. And they would probably end up spending far more money putting the resources in place, like, because some of these people might need someone to work alongside them to do a job. All right, so now you're paying an extra salary. Who's covering that? Because a big business isn't. I can tell you that for a fact. They're not going to do it. So now what? Is the government going to pay that?
Even if a big business, that's the other thing. If a business, big or small, has to suddenly make adjustments for someone to get into the workplace, they're just not going to do it.
Yeah. And like, again, as someone who suffered from anxiety, and at times like you have days where you just don't want to leave the house. So I can only imagine if you're someone who suffers from such crippling anxiety that you can barely open your front door and leave, to try and force someone like that to just get a job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
agreed.
It just beggars belief for me.
To flip the switch slightly on what we're talking about, just Rachel Reeves. Why do you think she went into the house? Why do you think she went into the chambers? Because if she was in that state, for me, whether it's something that's going on personally, I would just take leave day.
People argued.
If she just had an argument with Lindsay Hoyle and she was feeling like that.
Take 5 minutes.
Yeah. Like going in and sitting there, because as it's been discussed, because of who she is, because of what was being discussed, she was always going to be in the frame whenever Kier Starmer was talking, and Kier Starmer's going to respond to questions from the opposition and from the rest of the House. And whenever it cuts back to him, you're always going to be in frame.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah. No, the thing is, I've heard an argument. Someone said that if the Chancellor of the Exchequer isn't behind the Prime Minister after a humiliating defeat, one, it shows a lack of support, but also the markets could take a hit because they see it as a lack of confidence from the Chancellor.
And I get that.
But I would then throw in...
This ain't much better.
The pound took a hit because she was crying.
Yeah.
So...
And also...
by the way, is that not mental?
It is insane.
Like, is that not...
But also, it's really easy to say, in my opinion, it's really easy to kind of say, you know, everyone's like, oh, the Chancellor's not there, to just go, actually, she's going, you know, like, because they've already come out and said, oh, she's going through some stuff in a personal life. Just come out and say, oh, actually, she's got some stuff going on in her home life.
That's nothing to do with this
you know,
house,
it's not going to affect the way she does the job or anything, but she's just had to take a couple of days to deal with it. The timing's unfortunate, but that's life.
It is.
You know, that's the way life happens, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That is surely, in my mind, and maybe I'm overthinking it or underthinking it, surely that's much easier.
You'd think so.
Like, I wouldn't have gone into the check. Like you said, sitting there crying has got to be worse for the economy and worse for Kier Starmer.
This is where my theory comes in.
Than not being there at all.
I think she did it deliberately. I'm going to throw it
to
out
undercut
there.
Kier.
Well, not just to cover her back, because he now has had to fully back her. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's now come out and said she's not going to be leaving her position.
Do you think she will be leaving her position?
No, I don't think she will. Because the thing is, after this, I mean, maybe down the line with a bit of space, perhaps, if there's more fuck up. But
what are we now? We're June.
I think he was going to sack her. I think he was absolutely going to sack her.
We're July. By the way, by the time you listen to this, my birthday will be right around the corner.
Oh, shit.
But I just wanted to plug that. Oh, I'm going to do a shameless plug at the end as well. Remind me.
No worries.
So we're in July. Do you think she's there in the new year?
Probably not.
Do you think Kier's there in the new year? Because I've heard a lot of talk about Kier's
I've
future.
been saying for a while that I don't think he makes it to the next election. And if things continue as they have been, with him showing... And I've heard, like, I've seen his biographer being interviewed, and the guy makes some really good points about the fact that there is a human being behind Kier Starmer, and that
you can imagine. I mean, like, I don't know what his mum and dad did for a living, but I imagine they raised him. I can't help it every time. Again,
it's a bit like Rishi Sunak for me, in the sense of Kier Starmer should be a really positive story. Again, a working class man that's worked his way from a working...
My father was a toolmaker, and my mother...
And my mother was a nurse. And, like, he genuinely, having listened to his biographer talk, he's been through some shit, and, like, even since becoming Prime Minister, and maybe that plays a part in his behaviour since becoming Prime Minister. He lost his brother, and, like...
If he gets ousted...
Yeah.
Is he not in the same position that Boris Johnson was in, whereby his entire cabinet, by association to him... is tainted?
I don't think enough's happened. I don't think enough bad stuff has happened. Like, it's only been a year.
Well, but something bad enough will have happened to get him out. Something really bad will have had to happen, or an accumulation of bad things.
What will lead him to lose his position will be that he currently has no authority within the party. Whereas with Boris, it was scandal after scandal after scandal. It was years of scandal. Like, every week there was, Boris has done, I fucked another woman. Do you know what I mean? Or like, I knew a man was sexually assaulting all MPs he could get his hands on, men and women, and I covered it up.
Who among us hasn't told a journalist to punch himself, to go and stab someone?
I lied to the Queen, and he got away with that. But I think with Kier Starmer, it'll be because he will have lost all support of the party rather than a scandal. Way out now. And he's pretty much there. So I think you could see by the end of the year he's not in charge. But he's also got an authoritarian tint to him, so it wouldn't surprise me if he started doing some quite drastic shit to stay in charge.
Even though I look weak and small.
The thing is, the only way...
No one gets to say anything without going to prison.
The only way in which he could survive this is if he went full left. Do you know what I mean? And he would get criticised for it at first, because it'd be like, well, you're now spending
Clothing
and borrowing.
Is now optional.
But if he went full left and invested in the country and actually did some positive shit to help people, and to be fair, he wants to do the workers' reform bill. Everything I've heard about that is positive, but I'm yet to see any action on it. So the housing reform bill, again, I keep hearing positive things, but very little action. So there's some things he wants to do that are positive, but he's not doing enough. We're not seeing a radical change in any way in day-to-day life for people, which is what people need. And even if people were unhappy with the changes he were making, if they were intellectually, if they saw a positive change in their lives, I think by the end of a 5-year period, if you could point to growth, more money in people, genuinely more money in people's pockets, not
in real
Boris
terms.
Johnson's version where it was everyone's £300 better off. We're not, dickhead. We're not. But if you genuinely saw positive change, I think that would save him, but he's not going to do it.
Did you know the bill, just quickly, the bill that worries me the most is, and I feel for the government, any government who's been trying to push, is the online safety bill. Because I think, because of the nature of the internet, because it's as far-reaching as it is, and it's international, and because of how fast-moving it all is, the whole industry is changing month on month and year on year. It's really hard to...
Yeah, because Andrew said, in cybersecurity and AI, and it's moving so quickly.
Do you know how many...
government can't legislate for it.
Do you know how many jobs I saw, by the way? I was looking through jobs the other day. Do you know how many jobs were whatever it is, and then the add-on was AI training? They want you to do this job so that you can teach AI how to do it.
It's terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah, and I feel you. Look, I'm an old man when it comes to this stuff. I don't want nothing to do with the way AI is currently being used. There's lots of AI that I think has promise, and sure, there's little bits of AI that I use without even knowing I use it.
Yeah, it's being introduced into our lives.
The way that it's being used as a whole, we've discussed it before. The way it's being used to basically replace the human side of humanity. Whilst also simultaneously trying to save corporations a shit ton of money at our expense.
Well, and the planet's expense.
And the planet's expense is so bad for the planet.
I'm now seeing that they're looking into nuclear as the option to... nuclear energy is the option to do it.
I hear Iran's making some real breakthroughs in that department.
60% uranium! We dropped bombs! We set them back decades!
They got the nuclears.
Fake news.
Do
you think he sees at the end of the year, or Rachel Reeves, either of them?
Kier Starmer, yes. Rachel Reeves, no.
That's fair.
I think once this news cycle dies down about her, whatever it is, whatever she's got going on, and I anticipate that being a month or two.
You reckon she'll leave?
Obviously it'll die down in the next week, and then there'll be a clear period.
When's the next budget?
She'll be gone.
I can't remember.
Well, they do a mini budget in October.
So you reckon she'll be gone before the next budget?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think it's shit like this as well. It's
And who do you think... I know this is just...
Who replaces her?
Well, not necessarily her, but if Kier Starmer goes, who do you think replaces him? Because at the moment... Because everyone's saying Wes Streeton has started,
As he started gearing himself up. Don't surprise me. He's ambitious.
Actually, there was and I was like, oh, okay. because he was being asked a question about something an Israeli ambassador had said, and he was like, well, what I would say to them is that they need to get their house in order before they can start criticising. And it was like, oh shit, okay. And everyone
not a massive Wes Streeting fan. To be honest, when I look at that, it's like the only one that I kind of like is Ed Miliband. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he was on The Rest Is Politics recently, and he did like 4 hours. They did it in 2 parts, like they released it in 2 parts. And it's hard to listen to him and not go, he's all right. Do you know what I mean?
I'd have him.
Yeah.
Maybe Ed Miliband has another crack.
And
because look, Donald Trump has shown, like, historically,
yeah,
once you're outed in politics,
yeah,
that's kind of the end of the game.
Yeah.
You kind of go, do you know what? The people don't want me. I'm not going to spend the next 4 years, or 5 years as it is in UK at the moment. I'm not going to spend the 5 years.
I mean, I could be completely wrong.
But enough time's passed. Donald Trump shut. I think Ed Miliband could have another.
Do you think he'd want it though?
I think he'd take it.
Because you forget about things like he went up against his brother for the leadership, ended his brother's political career by doing so. His dad, like, who was a genuine patriot, got dragged through, like, posthumously dragged through the mud, and then the whole fucking eating a bacon sandwich is what ended his time as leader, or like lost him the election.
I know he said a bacon sandwich ended his career, and fucking a pig didn't end David Cameron.
Yeah, it's mental. It's absolutely. But no, look, I've listened.
Turns out, if you're going to do things with pigs, make sure they're alive.
Although he did Ed Miliband did go in Russell Brand's bedroom, but if we're ruling people out for that, we have to rule out a lot.
Half the country.
That's how long ago it was. That was at like the start of my political awakening.
That was before Russell Brand had gone full, I'm a Christian now.
Yeah, long before. Long. Because he didn't do that until...
recently.
Yeah, like conveniently. It was just before, wasn't it?
Funny
before
that.
It all started coming out.
Listen, I think he'd take it. Would you think he'd take it? Who do you think would take the reins?
I think a man that...
Streeting?
I think he would, because he's the slicked back hair. Like,
not Rayner.
The only reason... I've always felt the problem with Rayner is that, one, she's a woman. Not for me. This is for the party.
no, please.
Labour do not have female leaders. Like they just don't.
They're not.
And she's northern. She's not well polished. She's like and she's a lefty. She's like from the beginning of her career, she's been a lefty.
She's too working class for a country that still has a class system in place and that still believes they're posh, they must be smart, they must know what they're talking about. Like, it's still a thing in this country.
Whereas the only thing that would go against Streeting, I think, would be the fact he's gay. I think that would go against him, which I didn't know until recently, by the way.
Did you not?
No, I didn't. Not that I'm not bothered by the fact he's gay. And again, like you, I'm not a big fan of him. I hadn't even thought of Ed Miliband. That would be a good shout for me, to be honest.
I'd be happy
because he hasn't got to win an election immediately. Do you know what I mean? He's got 4 years to do some lefty shit. Do you know what I mean? So no, I wouldn't be against that at all. But I would like him more, Big Ange. So
I keep forgetting you call her Big Ange, and I keep picturing.
And you're thinking, Ange Postecoglou. Get him over from his holiday in Greece. Get him in.
We'll end on something light, but should we just take a moment?
Of
brevity.
Of course, yeah.
So literally this morning, so this will date it for you for when we record. News broke from the Spanish press, and then was confirmed by the Spanish police that Diogo and Andre Jota passed away in a car crash.
Yes. The details, I believe, were a tyre blew out and it started a fire and the car set on fire.
They were trying to overtake. This is what the statement from the Spanish police have said. They were trying to overtake, and tyre blew out and it caused the fire. So the car was completely engulfed in flames.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he'd only just got married a couple of weeks ago. Got 3 young children. That's Diogo Jota anyway.
Yeah.
But very, very sad, and I think just
wholehearted rippers from us.
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.
And normally I laugh when we do that, but that was a solemn rippers.
Yeah, I was talking about this earlier with my dad a little bit, but it's so rare for top level athletes to be struck down in their prime. It's almost like
who was the basketball player in the helicopter? Was that Kobe?
Kobe.
Yeah, or was he retired at the time?
Yeah, not in his prime, I would say. But it's even then, like before reaching old age,
wasn't it?
that it almost feels like, and this is going to sound like a dumb thing to say, and maybe it just proves the stupidity of statistics. It almost feels like statistically you're safer being an athlete because it's just so less likely for you to be struck down before you reach old age.
Well, I guess because you're in tip-top condition. So
yeah, but accidents happen to everyone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they seem to be statistically less likely to happen to those at the very top.
Yeah, but look, love to him, his family,
hugely. Yeah,
the children he's left behind, and to Liverpool.
Yeah,
we've lost a very talented player. Not that that's the most important thing, but it's part of it.
No.
So yeah,
and I hope they do one of those things where they honour his contract to his spouse.
Considering the wealth of Liverpool, I feel like that's the least they can do. Yeah, and I'm sure they will. To be fair, any good club would. So yeah, no, a sad note to end it on, but
just felt like a nice little we were talking about the death of Kier Starmer's career, so we might as well talk about the death of an actual person
and their career.
I mean, yeah, technically.
Sorry, that was a bit insensitive on the day. But yeah, Jake, point to the screen. I'm going to do the socials because they need to be done quickly. Guys, let us know what you thought about the episode. How did you feel about Bob Vylan and everything else we spoke about? Do you think Kier Starmer and Rachel Reeves see the next election or even the next month, end of the year? What do you think? Again, let us know how gay you are. Gay you think we are.
No, it wasn't gay. It was on the spectrum.
Oh, on the spectrum.
If you were more on the spectrum, you'd remember that.
There you go. I'll have a low spectrum score then.
You wish. Spectrum boy.
But you can let us know on Facebook at Crossing Swords, Twitter at Swords Crossing, on Instagram and TikTok at CrossingSwords_podcast, and you can email us at CrossingSwords19@gmail.com. And we have a massive favour to ask. More of you have started doing it, but if you're listening to this as audio, please just either go on our TikTok page, our YouTube, both if you've got the time. Click on a video, hit like, drop a comment. It's massive for us. It costs you absolutely nothing.
Zero.
It costs you absolutely nothing.
The people of Britain will be better off.
Absolutely.
Financially.
Do you not want more people to see Crossing Swords in their ears and on their screens? Absolutely.
I'm also going to take this moment to do it. I know we're right at the end, but a shameless plug. So in August, I will be doing a challenge for people with motor neuron disease, for the Motor Neuron Society. The Motor Neuron Disease Society. So the challenge is to do 15,000 steps a day, every single day in August.
Okay.
The aim is like 465,000, something like that, steps overall. It's obviously because people with the back end of motor neuron disease can't get out and walk.
I think good idea for that, just quickly, is aim for somewhere, like pick a landmark, pick a place and be like, I'm going to get to there today. And it might mean you do more than 15,000 steps.
Yeah, it's going to be an expensive bus ride back home at the end of every day.
Well, maybe not every day, but you know.
Well, it is. I'll walk all the way to Watford. I'll come back and then start again. But no, joking aside. Yeah. So if you can please go to my personal, we might even put it on the Crossing Swords.
Send me a link and I'll put it in the description.
So yeah, if you go to any of our episodes, any of our socials and stuff, we'll try and put some links up there. Yeah. Just click on the link. Anything you can give, literally £2, £4, £5. It really does all help. And that's going to be the aim, 15,000 steps every day. And when I do it, I'm going to be posting every single day how many steps I've done.
Wicked.
So yeah,
that's what we like to
my personal plug.
No, like fucking shaking the phone.
I've got to say, Steph's also doing it. So Steph did it a couple of years ago.
Very nice.
And I said this year, I'll support you doing it. I said I'll do it with you, and then I thought, well, if I'm doing it, I might as well.
Was it one of those where you said it at the time and you were like, oh, I should forget?
No, not at all. I was like, do you know what? If I'm going to do it, I might as well take donations for doing it.
No, absolutely.
So yeah.
No, fantastic. All right, guys. See you next week.
Bye.